Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. So today we are going to be putting the brand new Too Faced Born This Way matte foundation to the test. I recently shared in a haul video that I picked this foundation up and I was very excited to test it out. I am a fan of the original Born This Way foundation, but as someone with super oily skin, it's not the best formula for me, especially in the summertime when I tend to be super greasy. So this is something I had high hopes for. So I'm currently actually on day 2 of wear testing this foundation. I have actually the matte on one half of my face and the original on the other. You'll have to leave a comment down below and let me know which side you think is which. Yesterday I did a full day wear test just using the Born This Way matte all by itself. Today I wanted to see how it fared in comparison to the original. So if you're also curious about this new foundation, you'd like to learn a little bit more about it, see how it works on oily skin, and see how it compares to the original Born This Way foundation, hang tight because we're about to get into it. All right, so we're gonna kick off today's wear test by priming my skin, and I figured I'll use my good old standby because if this foundation doesn't work with this product, that's definitely going to take it down a few pegs for me. And of course, that is the Coats Face Prime and Protect SPF 40. This is my favorite sunscreen and primer in one. It uses all mineral-based sunscreens, it's silicone-based, so it kind of fills in pores nicely. It's just kind of my everyday go-to. All right, so here is the star of today's show. We have the Too Faced Born This Way Matte 24-Hour Undetectable Super Long Wear Foundation. This claims to be oil-free, oil-controlling, waterproof, and transfer-resistant, which we are definitely going to be putting to the test today. I have some errands to run. I'm meeting my best friend's new puppy today. So I'm really curious to see how this will wear under a mask, if I'll get a lot of transfer onto my mask or not. So we'll see how transfer resistant this really ends up being. Now, this guy retails for $40. You do get 1 fluid ounce of product or 30 mils, which is the standard, and I got the shade light beige. So whenever I'm doing a foundation wear test, I do like to try the formula out with a brush and with a sponge. So I figured we can use the Too Faced foundation brush today, because why the heck not? And then I have my Japanesque Kumadori beauty sponge, which we'll use on the other side of my face. So I'm going to take about 1 pump of this. It's quite a liquidy foundation. I feel like perhaps maybe a little more liquidy than the original Born This Way. It also has a slight paint-like scent to it, which I feel like I tend to notice with more matte, quick-drying foundations. So I am going to buff this in fairly quickly, just kind of anticipating that this will probably dry down fast, knowing the consistency and the smell. And I'm pretty sure the coverage on this is meant to be medium to full. And I would say right now this is definitely looking more medium buildable to me with just 1 layer applied quickly. I feel like that did kind of even out everything, but my skin definitely still has some imperfections peeking through. Right now, it's not looking super flat and matte, but it definitely didn't add a luminous glow. We'll see once it dries down what it looks like. So I'm curious to see, given that this is not looking super full coverage, what it looks like with a sponge, because usually a sponge will kind of remove some of that coverage. Also, I apologize if you can hear my dryer going in the background. It's been a crazy day. I needed to do some laundry, so hopefully that will finish soon. All right, so we have the sponge side now complete and the brush side. At a quick glance, I think I actually prefer the finish of the sponge side. It is a little bit more luminous, but it does look a little bit more skin-like, and I feel like the texture of my skin looks a little less noticeable on this side, whereas on the brush side, I feel like my skin does look slightly more textured, maybe just because this has a slightly more matte finish than this side currently does. But looking in my little mirror here up close, I'm not seeing any dry patches with this. Nothing is clinging in any weird spots. It actually does look very light on the skin and nice. I am seeing some brush marks up close on the brush side. So overall, I think I actually prefer the way this applied with my sponge. That also may just be the Too Faced brush, so I would probably like to try this again with another buffing brush just to see if it makes any difference. But I think what I'm gonna do now is just layer on a little bit more product using the sponge, just to add a tiny bit more coverage to the center of my face here, just because I feel like it could use it. And then I think we will call this a day. I don't like to over apply foundation too much. You can always add a little concealer where you need to, but I feel like foundation just wears better when you don't over apply it. All right, so I think my application for the foundation is complete. Now, feel-wise, this is still a little bit tacky on my skin. I'm not gonna set it down with powder just yet. I'm gonna give this a little bit of time to let it sink in, see if it dries down. So I'm gonna go ahead and do my brows while I take care of that, and then we'll see how it's feeling. All right, so I just finished my brows. I also threw on some concealer as well. I've been testing out this Makeup Forever Matte Velvet Skin High Coverage Concealer, and I really like it. So this is what I'm wearing on my under eyes right now. So we've given the foundation another couple of minutes, and I feel like it's still like just a little bit tacky, so I do want to go ahead and set this down with a little bit of powder. I'm going to use my Zoeva Authentic Skin finishing powder because it's what I have next to me right now, and I also really like this powder because it sets everything, but it gives it a nice natural matte finish. It's lightweight, it's not overly drying, so we'll go ahead, add a little light layer of this, and then I'll go ahead and finish the rest of my face. All right, so I have the rest of my face makeup done. I feel like everything applied really nicely on top of this foundation. I didn't have any issues with patchiness or things clinging in any kind of weird ways. My skin doesn't feel uncomfortable at all. This foundation is generally pretty lightweight, I think, and everything is looking really smooth. I really like that Zoeva setting powder, and that just kind of blurred everything out just a little bit more. But the foundation, it's not separating, it's not cracking, it's not doing anything weird. So I'm just gonna finish up my eye makeup. I'll do that off camera, and then we'll get this wear test started. All right, you guys, so the rest of my makeup is done. It is currently about 9:30 in the morning. Kira is over in the corner chasing her tail and making a bunch of noise, if you can hear that. So we'll get this wear test started, see how this holds up throughout the course of the day. Right now, everything is looking pretty good. Feeling nice, not too dry, not getting dewy yet, which I would hope not. It's only been on my face for like 45 minutes. So I will check back in with you guys in a little bit. Hey guys, so it is currently about noon time, so I wanted to do a quick little check-in for you. If you hear Kira whining downstairs, it's because she does not like being left alone for 0.3 seconds, but she's fine. So my foundation has been on now for about 2.5 hours, and this is how we are looking. I feel like everything is actually looking pretty good. I am starting to see a little bit of shine come through around my T-zone. I've been out in the heat walking Kira, so that doesn't help anything. But I feel like I'm not noticing any visible separation, caking, foundation breaking apart, doing anything weird. So far, so good. I'm about to leave the house. Kira and I are going to go visit my best friend Brittany. She got a new puppy. We're gonna go see the puppy. It's gonna be the best. So I will check in with you in a little bit. All right, and I am back. It is now about 5 o'clock in the afternoon. We just got home from playing with the new puppy. She is so stinking precious. I totally meant to take my camera with me and film some footage, but left it sitting right on my table in my house. So alas, I do not have any footage of the puppies playing together, but I'm sure someday we'll be able to get some for the future. Anyway, let us evaluate the foundation situation. So here is what we are currently looking like. I am getting a little shiny in the T-zone area, and I feel like you can see some of this makeup is rubbed off around my nose. Pretty normal. I was wearing sunglasses, so I have a little bit of a sunglasses mark. But honestly, I feel like, considering that I put a mask on, that I've been wearing this makeup for like 7 hours, I feel like it looks really pretty decent. Like, my forehead still looks really nice. My cheek area still looks really good, and I also didn't have a ton of mask transfer. So this is the inside of my mask, and honestly, I really only got transfer like right around the nose area. I think because my nose gets so oily, it starts to break the makeup down, and that made it start to wear away a little bit. But on my cheeks, this actually feels like pretty locked in. It doesn't feel tacky at all, it doesn't feel greasy. It feels like it's not going to rub off on anything, which is really nice. So yeah, so far I am really, really pleased with how this is looking and how this is wearing. I'll probably do one more check-in today before I take this off for the night, but I'm thinking it might be kind of cool to do a split face wear test tomorrow, like half of the original, half of the matte, just to see the difference side by side, because I do have them in the same shade. So I think we'll wrap this video up with that tomorrow. Well, hello again. Clearly it's the next day. I totally failed at filming a check-in last night. I had like a virtual happy hour with some friends from college, and I was so tired by the time that like we all got off said call that I just went upstairs and washed my face and like kind of didn't even really think about it until it was too late. Needless to say, I can vouch for the fact that the Too Faced Born This Way matte foundation wore very nicely yesterday. I was quite impressed with it. I did get a little shiny, you know, like right around this area, which is very normal for me. I have really large pores, kind of like right in this region, and so no matter what, I'm always gonna get at least a little bit greasy there. I didn't blot or touch it up at all yesterday, and I feel like, all in all, it looked pretty good. So today I thought it might be fun to do a split face wear test using the matte foundation on one side and the original Born This Way on the other, just so we can see the difference in finishes side by side and see if the wear on each side is any different. So I'm going to prep my skin the same way I did yesterday with my Coats sunscreen primer, and we're basically just going to hop right on in to application and seeing what these two look like side by side. So I have my original Born This Way foundation. I think I'm gonna do this on the right half of my face, and then we'll do the matte on the left. If you guys haven't seen, I don't think I showed this to you before, but the bottles have the same like aesthetic. The original is just shorter and wider. The matte is tall and skinny, which is nice if you do own both. It's very easy to tell which one is which is handy, especially if you're getting ready like super early in the morning and your brain's not entirely with it. Like, I appreciate having clear differentiation. So I'm gonna take a little bit of the original Born This Way. As you guys can see, this is a much thicker textured foundation. The matte one was very, very liquidy, and I do have both of these in the same shade, so the only difference should be the formula. I'm also just going to use the sponge today because I did like the sponge application of the matte foundation the best yesterday, so I figure we'll just stick with that for today. So as you guys can clearly see, the original Born This Way has really nice coverage, a really nice natural set and finish to it. I do really like this foundation. I think it would work really well for people, especially with a more normal skin type. I feel like you would probably really enjoy this because it is a nice solid middle of the road foundation that's not too luminous and not too matte. And while the coverage is really good, like you can see, this really perfected the look of my face on this side. It still looks a little bit like skin. It's not super mask-like. So yeah, really, really pretty. There's a reason why it's like a bestseller of theirs. And then I'm gonna get a pump of my matte foundation on the other side. Again, you guys can see very, very liquidy. And this one definitely smells less pleasant than the original. The original has like no scent to it whatsoever. This does smell a little bit more like paint. I think it must have some ingredients that smell like chemicals that allow it to dry down more matte and more quickly than the original foundation. All right, so I've got the matte foundation on now. Let me do a little closer investigating in my mirror of the differences between these two. So right off the bat, let's talk about the shade and whether or not light beige in both formulas actually looks the same on the skin. I would say it's a pretty close match. It's maybe slightly darker looking on the matte side, and that might just be that because this is a matte foundation, it like reflects light a little bit less than the original, which is going to give the original side a little bit of a lighter, brighter appearance. But in general, I would say light beige is light beige, which is good. So if you know what shade you are in the original foundation, you don't have to worry about getting it in the matte and having it not be quite the same undertone or not quite the same shade and it not matching you perfectly. Coverage wise, I would say these are also both pretty similar, both like a good solid medium to full coverage. I feel like my skin looks a little more perfect on the original side than on the matte side. Because the matte, I think, is just like a little bit of a thinner textured foundation, I feel like the way that it applies is a little less smoothing on the skin than the original. But I would say like level of opacity wise, they're pretty similar. Now, texture wise, here's what's interesting. The original side actually feels more set down than the matte, which is weird. Like I would expect the matte to be less tacky and the original to be more tacky, but it's the other way around. Neither is like super creamy and emollient. You know, I'm not feeling like, oh, I'm gonna get a ton of transfer onto my fingers when I touch my face, but it's definitely not like completely dried down to a totally transfer-proof finish on either side. So since I didn't use the rest of the Born This Way products yesterday, I figure we can use them today. So I'll use the Born This Way Multi-Use Sculpting Concealer. I have the shade Vanilla, as well as the Born This Way Ethereal Setting Powder in Translucent. I do actually really like the setting powder. I think it is beautiful, blurring, not overly mattifying. So I'm gonna go ahead, apply these, and then we'll take a look at how the two compare once everything is set down. All right, so concealer's on, everything is powdered and set down. At this point, honestly, I feel like there's no visible difference between the two sides of my face. You guys will have to let me know what you think. Here again is the matte side, and here is the original Born This Way side. But honestly, like once you powder either of these foundations, they're both going to look pretty matte. Honestly, I think the true test is going to come like 3-4 hours from now when we see whether or not there's a difference on how each side of my face looks. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish up the rest of my face, and then I have some more filming to do. So I will check in with you guys after that. It's currently about noontime, so I'm expecting you'll see this again in about an hour, but we shall see. For you, it's only going to be a matter of like a second, but yeah, anyway, I will see you guys in a little bit. All right, and I am back. It is currently about 12:45 in the afternoon, so it's maybe been about 45 minutes now. I have the rest of my makeup done. I don't think I told you guys this yesterday, but today and yesterday I have been testing out the new Too Faced Pumpkin Spice palette on my eyes, and so far I am really loving this. I did kind of more of a purpley look yesterday and it came out so pretty. Today I'm wearing this shade Fall Vibes all over my lid. It is an absolutely stunning glittery kind of green gold. And of course, I decided to pair today's look with the Pumpkin Spice Melted Matte Liquid Lipstick that I also recently picked up. So yeah, we're going like full pumpkin spice, full fall vibes today. Now, as far as the foundation goes, let me zoom you guys in so you can see how things are looking. All right, so here's what we are looking like right now. Honestly, I would say there's not too much of a difference between the two sides of my face, and things look pretty similar to the way that they did 45 minutes ago. If anything, I would say that the matte side looks slightly more matte and slightly more textured than the original Born This Way side. This with the powder just I feel like looks a little more luminous and a little bit more smooth, whereas I feel like on this side, especially my cheek area, just looks a little bit more textured. You guys will have to let me know what you think, and I guess I'll see when I'm editing the footage as well. So I'm gonna go about my day. I'm gonna let this hang out on my face for a few more hours, and I will check back in with you guys in a little bit. Hey guys, so it is currently about 3:30-ish in the afternoon, so I wanted to do a little check-in for you. I feel like my makeup is holding up beautifully. Everything is still looking really nice, I feel like, on both sides at this point. So we're at what, around the 4-ish hour mark. I'm currently standing in front of a window so you guys can see what this looks like in natural light, and I really don't see a difference between the matte side and the original side. Like, I feel like they both look about the same. Nothing is breaking apart. Everything is looking pretty smooth. So far, so good. Usually though, by this point, I don't expect my makeup to be broken down. Usually by the like 7-8 hour mark, that's when I start to see things go steadily downhill. So I'll have to do another check-in later this evening and let you guys see what things are looking like at that point. Hey guys, so it is currently about 9:15 p.m. and it's time for a final check-in. I've been wearing both the original and the new matte Born This Way foundation all day long, and I have some thoughts to share. So clearly I am starting to look pretty dewy, which is par for the course with me and my oily skin. I also had been wearing a mask for part of the day. I went to an outdoor painting party at my mother-in-law's house, and I was wearing a mask while also being socially distant with the other guests. And I definitely can see that the side of this mask that was on the original Born This Way foundation, which was this side over here, has more foundation on it than the matte side does. So I do feel like the transfer resistance is a little better on the matte than on the original. But all things considered, I feel like as far as how everything has held up after wearing this all day and wearing a mask, things are looking pretty decent. I also haven't reapplied the liquid lipstick at all or the eyeshadow. I ate a burger and a cupcake. So the fact that there's even still any liquid lipstick still on my face right now speaks to the formula of that as well. Now, here's the thing though. Looking at my face up close in this mirror, I don't see a huge difference, I feel like, between the original Born This Way side and the matte side. You guys will have to let me know what you think. Do you see a noticeable difference between the two sides? Like, I've definitely lost some product around my nose. I mean, that's from wearing the mask and also just because my nose gets super oily and makeup breaks down there really fast. But I feel like I'm kind of generally the same amount of shininess, like around my nose. Again, I get really, really oily right around here. And I don't really feel like the matte side looks particularly less shiny than the original side. It's like maybe slightly more matte, especially through this part of my face. Like, my cheek feels completely dry, not tacky at all, whereas I feel maybe a little dewier on the original side. I also haven't blotted or touched up anything at all, and I feel like if I had blotted, that would have definitely helped a little bit with the greasiness factor. So yeah, all in all, I feel like this new Born This Way matte foundation does perform really nicely. It does seem to be a little more transfer resistant than the original, but like the coverage and the finish is like not that different. So if you liked the original but you want something that's just like a little more matte, a little more long wearing, a little more transfer proof, maybe the matte version would be worth checking out. I'll definitely continue to keep testing this though, and I will give you guys an update in my beauty report series at the end of September. But yeah, first impressions are pretty promising. So on that note, I think it's about time for me to get in my pajamas, wash off this makeup, get cozy, go snuggle with my puppy. So I'm gonna let you guys go, but thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, I hope you'll consider giving it a thumbs up. And if you're new, I hope you will consider subscribing so you can hang out with yours truly again in the future. I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your day, and I will see you in another video. Bye guys.